Hi, my name is Arman Shah, president of KITE, and welcome back to the free Python course by KITE. And today we're going to be going over files and how to integrate files into your Python program. So as we know, when we shut off our computer from any ordinary program, that memory is deleted or erased, right? That memory in a program cannot be saved unless we save it with secondary memory. And secondary memory is our hard drives, SSDs, and even memory that is stored, or storage I should say, that is stored on the cloud. So you might think of this as the storage on your phone when you download a game or apps, and even the storage on this computer that you're using to code, where you're downloading, again, games or apps, browsers, and all that. So in Python, we can actually read and write on text files, which are where stuff is stored on a text file. Text is obviously stored there. So as an example right here, we actually store our Python code itself on right here on our Replit. These are stored as secondary memory on the Replit cloud, where we can access it. It's not exactly stored in our computers, but on the Replit cloud itself. So what is a text file? So a text file is very simple. It has a .txt at the end of it, and most files have their own dot something. For example, Python files have a .py. As you can see, when we create any Python files, you can see right here. Other files might have a .pdf or a .mp4, all those type of files. A text file is exactly how it sounds. It's a file filled with text, kind of like a Word doc or a Google doc. These are text files. It has text, and as you can see, I made 2 lines of text, one saying hello world, and this is a text file. You can make your own text file if you have Windows using the Notepad application. So how do we actually access files in our Python program? So if you're using Replit, you can easily access your file by simply clicking the 3 dots over here. You click the 3 dots and you can upload a file from there. And as you can see, I just uploaded the text file .txt. And if I click on it, I'll have it open over here. And it's important to note that this is not a .py file. It's not a Python file. So if I run something, nothing will come. If I run anything, even a Python command, print hello world, as you can see, it's not highlighted in that Python colors. Print it, nothing will come. That's because it's a .txt, not a Python file, even though it's on a text editor. And it's important to understand, if you're not using Replit, to open up a file in any other text editor that you, especially one that you downloaded like Anaconda or Atom. What you could actually do is you could just simply put the text file in the same folder as where your Python code or your Python program is stored. So as you can see over here, I actually made a game a while back, 2021, and I had the Python code. As you can see, many Python codes over here, they're symbolized with that Python logo. And where I wanted my text files, I had the high score text file right here and the score text file, and I put them in the same folder as where the Python codes were. So now that we have that file, the text file right here, how do we actually open the file? So that's actually the easy part. You can open a file with the the function open. So the function open works like this. First, you assign a variable to the file. I'm going to call it file, and you're going to say open, and you're going to put the file name. And you got to put it as a string so it can open it. And it can only open it because it's right here. It's going to open it, and nothing, I didn't really ask for an output, so it's just going to open the text file, and now you can access it in Python. But keep in mind that if you didn't open the correct one, you will get a traceback error. See, we don't have a file over here that's called text file with 2 E's. If we had a file here called text file with 2 E's, only then it will work. And keep in mind, if we print this file, let's say print file, let's see what happens now. We would get the statistics itself of a file. We'll get the name, the mode, and some encoding information about the file, and not the actual contents of the file. So how do we print the contents itself of the file? So before we understand that, it's important to understand how files work. So files work in lines. As you can see, there's 2 lines in this file. files go line by line. Talking about lines, there's also something I want to mention real quick before we go over printing the file, is the new line character, which is /n, and this can be used in strings to start a new line. Let's say I want to print hello world. I could say print hello world. Let's just do it like this for now. If I print that, I'll get hello world. But let's say I wanted to make a line break. I could do /n and I get a line break. And we went over this in chapter 2, I believe. But it's just a good refresher to know if you want to create a new line in a text file, and that comes when we're working with writing files, not necessarily reading files. Alright, so going back on how to print the contents of a file, again, remember we said that files go line by line. So if I use a for loop, again, it will go line by line. This, I'm using line as a variable just so we can kind of visualize it better, but if we use any other variable, it will still go, again, line by line. So it's going to go line by line, and we could say that we want to print that line. If I run it, it's going to print the contents of the text file itself. Hello world, this is a text file. Exactly what the text file had in it. So going off the for loop in a file, we can also, and this might come as of recent knowledge because we recently went over this in just a recent lesson, is count the number of lines in a file. And this is a very simple program using something that we just learned about. And I want you to recreate it in a Replit or your text editor using this code over here. Sorry, this file over here. And this file, don't worry, it will be linked in the bottom of in the description of this video. Also, if you're having trouble downloading this file, click on the link. It should take you to this page. All you have to do is click the 3 dots in your browser, then press save and share, and then save page as, and it'll automatically save it as a text file. So no need to worry. Alright, so I recreated the code of counting a file, counting the number of lines in a file over here. But keep in mind, I did actually change a little bit. For one, I actually did the count plus equals operation instead of the count equals count plus 1. So what this is again, it's the same thing as saying count equals count plus 1. Oops, count plus 1. But we could also, for easier to make it more consistent, we could say plus equals 1, which would automatically add 1 to the count and set the new count equal to that. And also integrated the f string, which we learned in the last video, or maybe a few videos ago. And the f string was automatically puts the count variable, the newest count variable, after the end of the for loop into the string and prints it at the end of the program. So if we run this code, we should get the total number of lines in this long file over here, which is 1909. I scroll a while for this, but it's 1909. If we run it, we should get that number. Yep, we get the count is 1909. And one important thing to notice is that this is like reading a file. When we use a for loop, we are reading according to Python terms, we're reading a file because we go through each line of the file. And when we go through each line of the file, we can manipulate the file. Over here in this case, we're only counting each line in the file. But an easier way to read, quote unquote, read a file in Python is actually using the read method. So what we could do to use the read method is actually we can actually assign another variable to the read method of the file. So let's say I say, and for the sake of this, I'm going to use a different variable. fhand is equal to file.read. So when we run that, we're not going to get any output, but we'll get that this fhand now is equal to the whole kind of text of the file. Now, because we have the information, we're actually going to be able to print fhand, and we'll get to be able to print the file. So this is an easier version instead of going through that whole for loop, doing a for loop and printing each line one by one. In this case, we're going to read the whole file and print it. So fhand is the whole string of the file now. That's what we could think of fhand. It's a whole string of the file. So because fhand is now a string, we can think of fhand as a string. There's actually some properties, some things we could do with strings, as we just learned in a few videos. One thing we could do is find the length of a string. So let's say I want to do hand, and I want to do length of f hand, which is Python function. I could do len f hand, run it, and this is the amount of characters in that string in the whole file. If we were to count each character in this file, we'll get 94,600. Let's say I wanted to print and only the first 20 numbers of the file. I could say print f hand, and I'll do 0 to 20, or we could just do 20, and I'll print the first 20 characters of the file. So thank you for tuning in this portion of the KITE free Python course. In the next video, we're actually going to go more deeper into files, and we'll learn how to write files as well in our Python program. If you have any questions, concerns, you can access it in a full forum in our Discord server, which will be linked below. You can also look at the textbook link and the Google Slides link there as well. And also make sure to follow our new Instagram and Facebook accounts, as you can see to the right.